Battlefront's coming out. Obviously, Battlefront II has a lot of it's an interesting game to Google right now because it's a wonderfully popular 2005 game that a lot of people played.
Yeah.
And then that was an entirely different game. And the new Battlefront 2 is being made by EA and DICE and all them, and like people are kind of comparing it to Battlefront 2, and that's not entirely the right thing to do because a lot's changed since with how games are made since 2005. But we're going to do that anyway because we're big irresponsible babies. So here are 10 things in Battlefront 2 that we want in Battlefront 2.
That's a headline.
Yeah.
That's a goddamn good headline.
Sometimes we say the name of the video you're watching in the video that we say it out loud. But yeah, so first things first, this is a big one. General Grievous. Battlefront 2, when it came out, Revenge of the Sith had just dropped, and everyone was like, Grievous is pretty sick. I don't know how I feel about the rest of that film, but that Grievous, man, he's pretty sick.
Look at
That's
that
why he's coughing all the time.
That old IGN logo, man. That's how long ago this was.
Yeah, actually, I pulled most of these screenshots from old IGN. It's really weird to dig into the vault like that. And obviously, there are like little granular things that a lot of people, I'm sure, want in Battlefront 2. But I just kind of was going over the stuff that they were marketing Stop doing that. That's not right. I'm great hungry. Anyway, moving on. They have announced that there's going to be more of a class system in Battlefront 2, the new Battlefront 2, and that used to be kind of much more of an emphasis of the original. They had jet troopers in the original one. It was cool because it was like almost this kind of snipe. They had like EMP rifles, and you could just jetpack around the map. In the first Battlefront, the one that came out in 2015, you could get jetpacks, but they were like these weird little kind of disposable power-ups almost.
And there were jet troopers you could fight in the single-player like mission campaign.
Yeah.
But nothing like that you could straight up play as.
Yeah, with the exception of becoming Boba Fett, it was like those jetpacks were kind of lame. Like I want like a proper class where you can just be a jet trooper, and maybe you're super weak against everything else, but you can fly, and that's the advantage. I don't know how to make games, but I want to use the jetpacks more.
Yes.
Moving on, some STAPs.
Dude, these are cool.
Yeah, this is a single trooper aerial platform. You might have seen them with the funny skeleton men we know as battle droids in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, but they got a little bit of play, and they were in Battlefront 2. I just think the fact that I really hope vehicles are vehicles in this one. In the last one, they were sort of like weird power-ups. They weren't really. There was no sense of them really being part of the battlefield, which was kind of a bummer. STAPs are kind of like weird Segway speeder bikes for battle droids, so
yeah,
give me them.
They're also a little harder to shoot.
Yeah.
They're a couple feet off the ground. I think those would be really fun. Like we've been saying, like with all the prequel stuff coming to Battlefront 2 2017, which I get confused with the Battlefront 2 2000, whatever the hell. It's going to be really cool to see stuff that probably looks better in this game than it did in the actual movies because that's just the way the CG's evolved.
Yeah, no, totally. So moving on, here's another one. People were kind of let down by the space battles in Battlefront 2015. Battlefront 2 had big, huge, epic space fights. I really hope they managed to recapture that. I had fun playing Fighter Squadron in the first Battlefront 2015. I hate how we have to keep establishing which ones we're talking about. But again, it was like this kind of fun arcadey thing. It was very pretty, but it was also very, very simple, and we got only like a handful of ship types. So like, I hope they completely lean into fleshing that out and making it really just feel properly.
Yeah, the space battles in something like Revenge of the Sith are sort of like needlessly busy. So I think like finding somewhere between like sort of the sparse presentation in 2015's Battlefront versus that movie, like somewhere in the middle of those two.
Yeah, dude, like Battlefront 2015's Fighter Squadron felt kind of like Little League soccer, like with like you'd have like the two types of teams, and there'd be just like everyone's either like an X-wing or an A-wing or a TIE fighter or a TIE interceptor, and just to be like, all right, well here's these teams going out. If you got like tagged out, you had to go back to edge of the field. And you're like,
did anyone's mom bring orange slices?
Yeah, that's actually a cool cutscene. If you beat that fighter squadron, you get to see orange slices. All the pilots are having nice orange slices.
What else we got, Max? Yes,
killable Ewoks.
Killable?
Oh yeah, you could kill them. You could just run around. You could just murder them. We had Ewoks in Battlefront 2015, but they were like set dressing.
I don't like that face.
Who would do that? Just make them so they explode and just shoot fire everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. Just make us let us kill an Ewok. Specifically that one from the Ewok movies.
Yeah, did they digitally alter his eyes in the special edition, I believe?
They added eyelids to the Blu-ray release of Star Wars.
They should have just closed them entirely.
Yeah, that'd be good. Just sleep forever. I want tanks. I don't care what kind of tanks, whether they're hover tanks or AAT tanks. I just want some big effing tanks. it's going into Battlefront 2 after playing Battlefield 1 is going to be very difficult because there's a certain level of like just kind of groundedness and also kind of just goofy sandboxiness to Battlefield. And I know they're obviously entirely different series and they're doing entirely different things, but if I get to play a Star Wars game where a bunch of people can just hop on this weird cowcatcher on the front of an AAT and be like, we're going to go into battle, and they just immediately get killed by somebody who's playing as Mace Windu or something, I'd be like, also, it's a good time.
We're getting Rey and Kylo Ren, so there's a possibility we could get the Federation tanks that we saw in Force Awakens. Like, those are really dope. They're like kind of a little more sleek, not as sort of like Battle Beasts clunky as these things are, but like, yeah, let's get them all. Like, why not?
Let's get some vehicles. I want some vehicles.
Just jam all that Star Wars in there.
We need some Wampas.
Oh, look at him.
We gotta have Wampas. Wampas, they were like, there was like an Easter egg of a Wampa.
Yep.
Which is kind of not really how they're supposed to be. They kind of get up in your business and they ruin your life. They don't just like disappear like red pandas.
If you're watching this and you remember it, shout out to Shadows of the Empire, which had a Wampa cheat, which let you play as Wampas, which was awesome. Yeah. I want that again. I want him to put down that wet turkey leg he's eating there, though. That is really disgusting.
Yeah, or you just go around and pick up all of them.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. That's
all right.
Good.
Moving on, Dagobah.
Yep.
Specifically because I want to see Dagobah rendered with the same level of fidelity that DICE demonstrated with the first Battlefront game. Just like go to some swamps and photograph all the weeds and the fog and stuff.
You have to imagine we're getting this. Like, I feel like of all the things that we've predicted so far, this feels the one that like they absolutely have to do this because they did almost every original trilogy setting.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right? I mean, they're doing Tatooine, like they're actually doing the Mos Eisley Cantina or the Mos Eisley area. I don't know if we'll be able to go in the actual bar. I hope so. But we did not get anything from Dagobah at all. So that'd be great.
I want to see like, here's a 3D representation of this movie you've seen a million times. Speaking of which, Coruscant. That's another big one. Coruscant's cool because it's so huge and it's so sort of like, you see so many little glimpses of it in the prequels and of course in like Clone Wars and Rebels. Let me see like a map based on it. I feel like they've got almost carte blanche to do whatever the hell they want. They could make some like random, they could make maybe a 1313-ish type level.
So we got
be like, oh, it's the Coruscant depths, and you're like,
we got Coruscant, or we got like Bespin in the Cloud City DLC, which was like sort of like a step in the right direction for that, of sort of being like, here's what a kind of sprawling city could look like with interiors and corridors.
That's like comparing like Pismo Beach to New York City.
No, seriously, and it was like so bare bones, and even for what from what we know, like Empire Strikes Back did with Bespin, like it just felt very like minimalist.
Yeah,
like
sparse. Give me some weird, dirty Coruscant back alleys. I think it sounds like a good time, and honestly, like
we never got
Coruscant. Let's see it.
We never got 1313, right?
Yeah.
So give it to us.
Yep. And then finally, Droidekas.
Droidekas.
I want to see some Droidekas. I want to see some destroyer droids rolling around. They got shield generators. Master shield generators.
These would actually be really cool to control for a few minutes, right? Not only if they were just like NPCs, but if they kind of like swapped in the way TIE fighters did in the last game.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that the big complaint I had with the last Battlefront is that it was very sparse and it was kind of stingy with power-ups and with like new heroes and vehicles and everything. And it was too much of a special treat to get to play as something weird and unusual, and that's the whole point of Star Wars, I feel like.
Yeah.
So we get to see that in November, and yeah.
So that's the stuff we want in Battlefront 2, not from the original Battlefront 2 that we want to see back in the new Battlefront 2. It's very clunky.
We love to talk about Star Wars here on Up at Noon. For more of our wacky Star Wars antics from a galaxy a long time away ago, far or something. Stop laughing, Brian. Check out the time that Alan Tudyk dropped the F-bomb on our show. And also, here are 11 heroes and villains we want in the Star Wars Battlefront. And of course, be sure to check out Up at Noon every Thursday at noon Pacific, live on IGN.